we still need to be careful about it because I have people who have died back home. Meanwhile, for most Vietnamese people, it's still just a concept. Like COVID is like, oh yeah, people are in quarantine, but I don't personally know anybody who has been infected. Meanwhile, for us, it's like, oh yeah, I already know at least 10 people who have died.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Too hard, too fast.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast podcast, the podcast where Jorge tells you 2 minutes before recording this that you need a tagline for the podcast.
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome to the show.
The podcast of the century.
Right.
I'm surprised we haven't heard the paletero coming through or the Candyman. Moving to Vietnam, what is that? Obviously, there has to be like some kind of culture shock because it's completely different from what you know from Honduras. I know you've traveled, but
It was surprisingly
really?
not that bad.
No?
I same thing I expected is like it's an Asian country. I've been here just once for a very short period, but the culture shock wasn't that big because I think a lot like Asian families have a lot of the same morals and a lot of the same ideals as Latino families, so it didn't really feel like such a big culture shock. Family here is very important. Family is very important back home. Work ethic is very important, or at least the appearance of one is very important here, and so it is back home. So I luckily haven't found that much of a culture shock, and the fact that I was already used to dealing with foreigners like every summer or throughout the year for my volunteering, I was already used to dealing with culture shock and to dealing with cultural differences a lot more than most people, I would say. So for me, the biggest shock when I came here was food, because I'm a picky eater. My fiance says that I eat like a 5-year-old child, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. And so it's my biggest problem here has been food, because it's like I never knew that you could make so many things out of rice. It's insane. For me, rice is just a side. It's like we put rice next to you. You want to fill up, you eat rice. Here it's like no, it's 3 bowls of rice is the beginning. It's like I'm like no, I'm full, thank you.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
Yeah, same here, man. I wouldn't think of that, but I can see like the culture shock being the food because here in the U.S., I will tell you that I have no idea if I've ever eaten Vietnamese food or not because they change it so much. Like I don't think I've even eaten real Chinese food. You know, maybe I think in
Definitely
New
not.
York once when I went to like Chinatown, and that's probably at best as authentic as it gets, and I really think it wasn't.
Probably.
Yeah, so I think if I went to China or Japan and tried their sushi or Vietnamese, Korea, Thai food, I
Yeah.
don't think I've really had real. It's just so Americanized, and it's good. What they make is good. I like it. I'm a fan of all of it. But just the same as Mexican food in certain places of the U.S. Here in Texas, especially like in the central Texas and where I'm from in the border, Mexican food gets a little more authentic, but it's still not real Mexican
It's
food
still
in
not the
here.
same thing.
It's not. So I get it just from knowing that alone. I can be like,
Imagine
I'm gonna go to
having
Panda Express and get some Chinese.
imagine having tacos in Vietnam. That's how I feel every day.
Do they sell tacos?
I have at least 3 Mexican places nearby, 2 of which are not run by Mexican people. So it's interesting. One of them is run by a white man, and one of them is run by a Vietnamese person. And I'm like, all right, this is slightly off. It's like it's a taco, yes, but there's something missing.
Yes.
It's
Just,
like
just because you
I've got
put it
my
in that envelope tortilla does not mean that.
it does not make a taco, man. It's like it's odd, but it's like it's just interesting to see that even here, people are like, no, I miss this food from back home. So you know what? I'm gonna start a taqueria, and that'll be it. And then we'll make do with whatever materials we can find. So like here, there's very few dairy products, at least local dairy products, because you have mozzarella, you have like all these imported cheeses. But like for us as Latinos, cheese is a big part of it. We have any numbers of types of cheese, queso fresco, queso suave, queso whatever, and it's it's hard to get them here. So like people have to either make them themselves, which I thought was going to be my pandemic project, and then I gave up, or they have to find a replacement for it. And so everything just tastes slightly off. Even the beans, we have black beans, red beans, but it's red beans here are part of a dessert. I'm like, well, why is this a dessert? This is a side dish.
Red beans is a dessert.
Red beans is a dessert because they're like, oh well, they're slightly sweet. I'm like, yeah, but no, like,
Okay, Kira,
those go in a taco.
I don't want to hold that thought, but I don't want to lose this thought because I want to go back to that. But I want to say my teacher in high school, my home ec, I took home ec, guys. Come on, it's not a big deal. I took home
Everybody
ec.
should.
Everybody should. I know. I think back then it was like, oh, you're taking home ec. All the football players are taking it. I really enjoyed it, except for when we made pecan pie. We made pecan. Wait, pecan or pecan?
I that's a USA battle that I'm not getting into.
How will you say it? How do you say it?
I say pecan maybe. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I say pecan.
Anyway, it's always a thing. If it comes up, I want to know how people say it. So we made pecan pie, and I don't know. My teacher was Asian. I don't know if she was what. I think she was probably Vietnamese, but I don't know. I don't even want to get into that.
Mm.
But she told us to put beans in our pecan pie. And everybody was like, what? That is ridiculous. Beans are supposed to go with rice. We're all Mexican.
Yeah.
So a few people didn't, and almost everybody did. There was one group that didn't, and they were the only ones that had good pecan pie. I could not eat mine. I was like,
It tastes like beans.
yes, I couldn't get it out of it. I was like, no, I cannot eat it. But to her, that's how she made it. Though that's how she knows it. Like that was normal for her. Because like we kept, I was like, no, what? Well, how is this in the recipe? This is weird. Are you trying to trick us? No, it was.
Is this to see if we're paying attention?
Yeah, right. I was like, so, anyways, that always threw me off, and I was like, no. Why would your teacher ask? Like nobody that I ever tell believes me, and they think I'm making it up or don't remember. Or I dreamt it to the point where I almost think I dreamt it, but I'm pretty sure I lived it.
I can confirm. Asia uses red beans as desserts. I still find it odd. I've lived here for 3 years. I still can't get over it. I do not eat red beans as dessert. This is a very personal choice that I've made, and I will stand by it. I will. This is the hill I will die on, because I understand that they're sweet, and I find it imaginative and incredible that that's how they chose to use them. But I can't get over it because I will eat something that tastes like red bean, and then I'll be like baleada. Like this tastes like a baleada to me. Why is this in my sweet dessert part of the meal? It's like this was supposed to be the main course. It really screws up with my head. It really like it gets me hard. Honestly, I just go like what no, I was in dessert. What is happening?
Well, also the cat kind of distracted me.
Yeah.
But I'm super glad that that's the hill you decide to die on because this is since moving. I'm from a border town, Eagle Pass. It's no secret. We say it all the time. I moved to San Antonio, and once I moved to San Antonio, bean and cheese tacos were a thing, and it wasn't a thing for me. And so everybody goes, "Do you want bean and cheese taco? Do you want a bean and cheese?" And I'm like, "No, bean and cheese, beans and cheese. If you throw cheese in the beans, it's a side. It's not a main course. I want some kind of meat. I want some huevos, some machacado, I want some meat in there." Like, and then you can put beans on top of it and throw some cheese on it. You know, it's a whole thing. But I'm not. It's not. It's not for me. It's not what I. It's not my main course. But my wife, oh, I'll take a bean and cheese. And now my son's running around going, bean and cheese, please. Oh my god.
I'm team bean and cheese.
Really?
Not gonna lie.
Oh my god!
Our
But you're not for the red beans.
dude, Honduras's food by excellence is the baleada, which is a flour tortilla, refried beans, cheese, but queso seco, mantequilla.
What's queso seco?
It's like a very dry white cheese.
Like
Like
crumble
that's
almost.
yeah, like you like grate it and then you put it on top.
Okay, okay.
And then you'll put mantequilla, which is our version of butter, which is sour cream for white people.
Really?
Which
Wait, hold on, because
yeah,
you just threw me off. Because mantequilla for me is butter. Like that's the
it's
Spanish.
butter. Yeah.
Okay.
For us, mantequilla is like the white creamy one that's salty, and so
For
you
me, it's
put that
yellow.
on top. Yeah, because for us that is mantequilla amarilla, so
Oh,
yellow butter.
okay, okay.
So you
I thought
have
we were about
beans,
to fight or
cheese,
something.
mantequilla. I'm about to break people's minds. It's like, yeah, I'm putting butter on my thing. So that's it, and then you close it up. And then if you want to get fancy about it, you put some meat. You put some meat on it, or you put some avocado on it. There's other variations, but the basic one is that beans, cheese, mantequilla, and then that's it. And a flour tortilla, and fold it in half, and that's it. It's like the best meal ever because it takes very little to prepare. You'll always have refried beans in your fridge, anyways. Uh, Cheese, mantequilla, you always have that too. So you can just do it and be done. And that's a perfectly good like takeaway breakfast, for example.
Yeah.
And it's cheap.
See, for me, the beans always been the side. But I do know, like in Mexico, they have something called tacos de canasta. I don't know if you've ever heard of them,
I
but
don't think so.
it really is like something you can make fast in the morning. And there's people that go like they really put it in a canasta means basket, so they put it in a basket and it's just whatever can be sold immediately and quick. You know, it stays hot for that moment, but it goes fast. So a lot of it is also like, hey, you can wipe your nose in this podcast. It's not that. It's not that kind of
Huh.
podcast. You know. No, I'm just kidding. But I know they do make bean tacos, but they don't call them bean and cheese. I think sometimes they'll make the beans and like chorizo beans, or
Mm.
stuff like that. Anyways, I don't know. This is too much of a conversation about food.
This has
We
become
can.
a food podcast.
I know this could go all over the place with just food
That's
alone.
that's what happens when you put two fatties in the same podcast together.
I know, right? I'm hungry. I'll probably eat a bean and cheese now.
All right,
Um,
call the wife. Bean and cheese. Let's do this
I know, right?
live on Too
Please.
Hard Too Fast. Jorge will have a bean and cheese taco.
Nah, she's not even home right now. That's the good thing. They're all.
I'll
That's
send
the good thing.
I'll send her a
Hey,
message
sorry, I
right
didn't mean
now.
that. Huh?
I'll send her a message right now. Just be like, no, Jorge said he wants a bean and cheese taco. Just bring it to the podcast right now.
So the food is the difference. What are you doing as a job over there in Vietnam?
I'm teaching. I became a teacher 2 years ago, almost. Yeah, 2 years. So when I first came here, I was working with that company that I was mentioning. So I was still doing remote work, exploring the market, seeing what would work, what if it wouldn't work. Unfortunately, the product that we were doing, it would be too expensive for the Asian market. So it just didn't work out. Like after 6 months, it started to fizzle out, and I was like, you know what? Like I want to stick around. So I ended my contract with them, very amicably and everything. And then I started looking into teaching because it at the time it was still the job to do for foreigners, where it was like, yeah, you just go get a teaching certificate of some sort. I had already been teaching for a while, like with my experience with the organization with CISV. I had learned how to teach through non-conventional means, but back home I had also taught graphic design, which is my original major, so I knew how to teach. So I just got like a certificate somewhere online, and then I started teaching at a kindergarten, and it was interesting to say the least. It was very exciting and very it was just you needed to be so full of energy, and that was my jam. It was like, all right, cool. I'm going today to talk to 4 3-year-olds, uh, yeah, sometimes even babies as small as 2 years old, and be like speaking to them in English and singing songs and jumping around and being like, "Baby shark," da, 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 da. It was amazing until you have been singing Baby Shark for 3 weeks straight, and then I was like, all right, can we sing another song now, children? Like, please, no more Baby Shark. Like, Baby Shark. Oh, no, God, no. But it became an interesting thing of this, and I learned more. I took some professional development courses, and I ended up teaching at a school the following year, and I was teaching first and fourth grade, and it was the same thing. The first graders would inject me with energy in the morning, and then the fourth graders would drain me in the afternoon. And it was nice. I really enjoyed it. It was something that I always wanted to do. Like when I was considering what to study back home, I thought about teaching. Like I've always liked it. My mom used to be a teacher, and so I really wanted to do it. But back home, I would have died in poverty, and and it wouldn't have worked. Like the lifestyle I was used to just would not have matched what money I would have made as a teacher, which is unfortunate and really, really sad. Which that it's pretty much the same everywhere. But then I came here, and then I could make a very comfortable living as a teacher, and it was something that I enjoyed doing. So that's what I did. And then lately I've been doing voiceover work, a lot of voiceover work for like education and for like audio books and stuff like that. Um, so it's I basically I'm a Latino through and through. Where it's like if somebody offers me a job, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. It's like, cool, give me more work.
That's cool. I like that, and I appreciate that. You like being a teacher because obviously I'm a teacher, and
Hmm.
I love doing it. But yeah, when you were talking about finances, I was like, yeah, it gets tough, man. It gets that whole
I
like
know.
because you do put in a lot of work, and then when you see that there's they say you don't do it for the money, you don't do, but you know what? We still need the money to live.
You still need it, yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a main factor. So it's not like yeah, but I don't know. That's not that kind of talk that I want to take it to. But it is. I do want to put out there. It is a thing. Like everybody that's a teacher deals with some sort of financial struggle every now and
Yeah.
then. Um,
Most teachers, if not all, moonlight, and that's the reality of the situation. Like there are very few teachers out there in the world who do not have a second job. It's like it's unfortunate that that's the state of our educational system as a world, because it's not a USA thing, it's not a Honduras thing, it's not a Vietnam thing. It's like it's everywhere. It's unfortunate that that's the reality. Um, and if anything, the last year should have taught us that, like how much teachers have had to put up with bullshit. Honestly, teaching online, and still people are complaining about teachers and students. I'm like, yeah, but like nobody trained us for this. It's like we were not
we're
ready
doing
for this.
both at the same time. Like
Or do
there's
oh dude,
like
I
goodness.
I have taught online for a grand total of maybe 2 months. In this entire time, it's like maybe 2 months. I hated every single moment of it. I was like, no, because it's terrible for us as teachers, and I know you can relate with this. We draw our energy from the classroom. It's like whatever I put out, I need to get back. It's like if I'm like, all right, let's sing this song, or like, who's got an answer for this? I want to hear my students give me that feedback. And being in front of a camera with 16 black blocks, or just the kids doing something else or whatever, and being like, anyone, 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 Bueller, Bueller.
Bueller, Bueller, Bueller.
It's terrible. it doesn't work, and it's demotivating and it burns you out.
Well, imagine being a special needs teacher
Oof.
with severe disabilities who, like, the only some of them, not all of them, but some of them, you literally have to be right in front of them, almost or hand to hand movements to get them to like interact with their materials, to know what they're doing, um, to keep them focused. And they're on a computer now, and they're like, yeah, they're not gonna sit through that. Even then, like me as right now, even when I'm on the podcast, there's so much going on around me that I'm constantly looking at something other. Like you can probably go back on this podcast and catch me like how many times I looked up to see what was going on. And then can you hear that?
Paletas.
There you go. I told you it comes around, and it's actually 10:15 right now at night. Once again,
Who
we set this on.
who is buying ice cream at this time of night? Who is going at 10 p.m. at night going diabetes? Like no, go home, paletero. What the?
There's
Why?
has to be, there has to be somebody. Somebody's either buying, or there's some sketchiness going on, and whatever it is, I'm not here to
It's
judge.
paletas.
You do your thing, whatever gets you through the pandemic, right? Just kidding. I don't know. That's probably bad to say, but it is what it is. It's 10:15. Here it is. Passes every time. And my son will hear it every now and then, like, candy? I'm like, no, man, no. Anyway, yes, teachers are doing a lot of things. I appreciate anybody that's doing it. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, I don't know how. I'm glad I had a lot of like help. That's the thing. A lot of people have helped me through it. Great parents that like are understanding, but it is what it is. And luckily, we got to return back to school, and it wasn't easy. It's still not easy, but it's good enough for me to be like, hey, I can work with my students, and I can see them. I can see them either progressing or having trouble with certain things, or they can at least have somebody like an out. That's what I needed too. Like I think that's how me and Worm started this podcast. Was like, I need somebody to talk to that's not a 3-year-old. That's not
Yep.
listening to Baby Shark or Blippy or now he's on my Dance Monkey song. Like he just heard it somewhere, and now he's like, Dad, play
Uh,
Dance Monkey. And I was like, that was so 2019. Why have I heard it more
na
this
na 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 na. Oh God, yes, I know exactly which song. Which goes to
time?
show, kids are the same everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere. Anyway, so now I'm thinking I want to get into that conversation. Well, actually, before we do, I know I said it earlier, but congrats, you're getting married. Do you have a date? If
No,
you want
because
to say
of
the date, are you
COVID.
comfortable saying the date? Don't say the date.
It's no. We haven't really set a date for it because, like, the fact is, if we get married right now, I will have about 5 people on my side, and she will have 250 on her side. So I would like for people from back home to be able to travel here. So like that's really what's stopping me from setting a date. So I'm like I would actually like some of my friends to be here for it. I would like my family to be here for it. Like so there's no date yet, but we're starting to like look for venues and stuff and just to like get ahead of it a little bit.
Okay, and that's because of the whole, the
Yeah.
pandemic. So that makes sense. So Vietnam's not letting just any Joe Schmo in or anybody. Are they letting anybody in?
No. So let's get into it because Vietnam
It's just nitty gritty.
has had one of the best responses to the pandemic in the world. It's we we didn't have any major outbreaks. The biggest outbreak that we had here was maybe I want to say it was maybe like 600 people at the height, and that was almost a year into the pandemic. Because what happened was as soon as it was okay, this is an actual pandemic. Vietnam closed its borders. You got to remember, Vietnam shares a border with China, so like we would have been one of the first affected. and we weren't because the government was like, no, we're closing all the borders, nobody's going in or out. It's like this is done. Set up a lockdown for. We were in lockdown, I believe, for the first 2 weeks, and they extended it once, twice, three times. So we ended up being in lockdown for about a month and a half. Students didn't come to school for like 2 months, and then before everything was like sorted out, because what happened was the government here set up contact tracing. So like if say Jorge has COVID, then we would track everywhere you have been over the
Why
last
would you jinx me
week.
like that? Oh my god.
Probably already had it.
Probably. I don't
The,
know. That's the other thing.
it's like, so if you get it, then they would track everybody that has been around you for the last week, and you would have to track where you have been and when. They would publish it and then send it out to everywhere. It was everywhere on social media. It was like, okay, patient number 45 was at this buncha place and then works at this university and then went to the movie theater with how many people, and then you would trace everybody who had contact with that person. And that was the success. The fact that everybody was like, oh shit, I was at that place at that time. All right, let me go get tested. And then they would be shipped off into like a quarantine facility, which were they
Did
have
you
a
ever
lot of
see
makeshift
any of those
facilities.
people ever again?
Yes, it was not that kind of facility, but
I don't
no,
know, man.
it was pretty interesting because there were like a lot of people who like documented the whole thing of being in like the military facility, because the biggest one was a military compound where like the army used to live, and all of the soldiers basically vacated the place, and they were like, no, use this place. And like triage stations were set up, like testing stations, and then everybody was like living there for 2 weeks. So it was just a lot of testing, a lot of contact tracing, and then in the end,
Did, did, did they
it was
let?
just people
Were
being
they able to like
responsible.
responsible? That's a good. I want to circle back to that in a little bit, but when they were in this military campgrounds or facility, were they allowed to keep like their phones or personal
Yeah,
items so they were able to
yeah,
communicate?
yeah. They were able to communicate with everybody. Like I said, like I saw there was this guy called Gavin, I think, where he documented the whole thing and like made vlogs every day of what was happening, because and that helped to kind of not only normalize it a little bit more, but to take away the fear from people that they were like, oh well, if I get COVID, I'm gonna be shipped off into like the little camp, and that helped normalize it being from a foreigner point of view of like, look, if you're a foreigner and you do actually get COVID, this is what happens. And like here, this is our living situation. It was just like a very simple cot, a room. You would be paired up with somebody, and then he would just record everything that he was doing, interviewing people to inside of the camp. They would get tested, I believe, 2 or 3 times, and so if you tested negative a third time, then you would be let out. But most
How
people
long?
would
How
stay
long
there
did they
for like
stay
the
in there?
entire 2 weeks. Two
2 weeks.
weeks, like 14 days.
Nice. Was there any like hookups or things that happened, like any scandalous
I
things?
I wasn't there, so I wouldn't know. No,
Oh,
but we they
missed
there
out then. I heard
was
there was ragers in there.
no there were two people. I think it was two people that actually escaped the compound. It was like they like ran off. They were like, no, we don't want to be here anymore, and ran off. And they were like Vietnamese people.
Oh, they said they
And
were
it that
probably U.S. citizens. I ain't
yeah,
wearing
it's
this
like no.
mask.
It's like no. Look, foreigners here. We were like, no, man, I'm staying indoors. Like putting on my mask, strapping in, because like when you would go out and somebody saw you without a mask, like you would get death stares, because everybody was like, no, put on the damn mask. It's like, like what are you doing? Like go back home. Nobody needs to be outside other for essential things. Go to the supermarket, pharmacy, hospital. That's it. You need anything else? Like no, go back home. Um,
And even
so it
then, like,
was
and I could be wrong, but I know like most Asian countries already adopted the mask before this virus existed. Like even simple
yeah.
colds, just out of
Yeah,
respect.
like masks were not an odd thing here. like I already had masks just for driving because the pollution sometimes is so bad that I was already used to like strapping on a mask every time I got on my bike. It was just like, yeah, no, this is just something that happens. So for us being like, oh, you have to wear a mask, it was like, okay, cool. I already have 10 at home, so that works out.
Speaking of masks, I know that here in Texas they're not in fashion anymore. We still wear them. Wear your mask, Texas.
Wear your
Uh,
masks, everybody.
if I send you one, would you wear it,
Yes.
please? No,
I
I'm
was
just
just I was just having this conversation with somebody. Like so, luckily we're talking about this, but masks have been a thing here for a long time. They have been here such a long time that they're boring. There
kidding.
are no cool masks. I see all of my friends in the USA ordering shit from Amazon and being like, oh, look at this T-Rex mask that I got. Look at this robot mask that I got. Look at this one. It has flames on it. I'm like, well, screw you. Mine just has like one color and then that's it. Like, yay. So it's like, it's real. I get really sad. I'm like, look, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's like masks have been here for a long time. Why don't we have cool masks? Somebody explain this to me. Because everywhere else in the world, it's a new thing and they have cool shit. And like, why don't we have it?
Is
Ma'am,
it?
where is my mask with a dinosaur mouth?
Ooh, or with a little straw in it so you can like still go to the bars and drink safely.
Where is my mask with my face printed on it so that it looks
Oh,
like
I
I'm
have
not
one of
wearing
those
anything?
too.
Of course you do.
I
See,
do,
that's
but it's
exactly
like
what I mean.
it's not a too hard too fast mask, but it's just I have it for my job.
See, that's exactly what I mean. See, you have one of those, and mine is just like a plain gray one. That's it.
Well, after this, you send me your details. I'll mail it. I'll pay whatever I have to pay for it to send you
I'll
off.
wear it, dude.
But
I'll 100%
you'll be
wear it.
one of the last to get one because we're not. We're really. I don't think we're gonna be getting any more. I'm not sure. We're moving on to koozies now that Texas is opening up. Get your koozie. So I'll send you one of these too. Do you want a blue one or a black one? Do you want to match it up or do you want to
Match it up. Match it up.
match it
Blue
up?
all
All
the
right,
way.
I got you. I got you. Um, with that said, nobody. You're saying nobody really like protested against it. Could they have, even if they wanted to protest against it?
Nah, not really.
It wasn't even a
I mean,
thing.
look,
It wasn't even a thought.
it was never even a thought. That's the thing. It was never even a thought. If anybody protested against it, it would have been foreigners. And we were like, you have to remember that you're a guest in this country.
True.
Like at the end of the day, Vietnam is a communist country. It's a capitalist country and there's a lot of development happening, but it is a communist country. Free speech is not a given. And honestly, like coming from a democracy which is riddled with corruption and everything, I was like, yeah, you know what? I don't need to know who the president is. Fine, this works. I was like, hooray, communism. Like I don't need to vote every 4 years. Just tell me who the leader is. It's fine. I was like, that has been my biggest change in mentality. Because like I come from a country where like I have a president who is like now has been fingered as being a drug kingpin or like helping drug kingpins smuggle coke into the USA. I'm like,
I feel like you just described Mexico.
yeah, exactly. I just described pretty much Latin America. No, so
Don't come after us, by the way. Cartels, come on.
it's like, hey, we already left the country. It's fine. Just leave us alone.
We made it. We made it through.
It's
And
fine.
also don't send me back. Just kidding. But
La migra.
it's so true. Like I've never been to I don't even know. Like I was gonna say Honduras. Come on, man. I never been to Honduras, so I don't know like how safe it is, how unsafe it is. I was reading a little bit about it because I knew you were coming on, so I kind of wanted like to know a little bit. And I like the main city was it Sao Paulo Sula? Maybe I said that wrong.
Oh, San Pedro Sula. Yeah,
San Pedro
it's
Sula. Sao
that is
Paulo
like the industrial capital of Honduras.
then it also came up as one of the unsafest cities. But it's probably because it's
It
like one of like the more like happening stuff, like right? It's the main.
at one point it was the most violent city in the world,
Mm.
because apparently we had more murders per capita in the world, but which to me just always pisses me off because I'm like, that's not how that works. It's like, cool, statistically we are the most dangerous city in the world, cool, but then Chicago has more murders than us, so it's like, it, how does that make sense? It's like, no, like, but
It
yeah,
does.
it was
It's the thing, no, but they still talk about how like violent Chicago is. Like even here, like you can't even believe it. Like why is there so much stuff like that happening? Like because they're not getting the help that they should be.
yeah,
I
but
would
no,
think.
it's look, Honduras. I'm the first one to like basically talk shit about my country, but I will say this much: it's like Honduras. I always promote it as a place that's really nice to visit. Just don't stay there. Like visit, get out. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's got amazing things, but go visit, get out. That's it.
Well, it's almost the same I say about Mexico. And I was literally talking about this week to some people that have never been to Mexico, and they were talking mess. They weren't talking about, but they were just kind of like the typical talk about how unsafe it is. It's not a thing. And I was like, you know what? Mexico is beautiful. Mexico has one of the best scenic places or views that you'll ever see. They got some great food, awesome people. It's just unfortunately corrupt. There's so much,
Yep.
and actually, like at least from what I've known, and I don't know how it is in some places. I think I have a better advantage because I speak Spanish. I look Mexican as fuck. uh, when I'm there, I'm a local and I talk Spanish. They don't pay any attention to me because I think I'm the help. Even in Mexico, they think I'm the help. So um, I was always like, yeah, I see it in a different perspective, but
Yeah.
I also know like there's some places you just don't travel to outside of the tourist spots.
Yeah.
I also know that I don't wear a watch, I don't wear my ring, I don't wear, I don't have flashy things around me. I don't even
Yeah.
do that in like the nice part of where I live right now. I don't, things are different. You never know who's around. But the thing is
Yeah.
that you just take certain precautions. You stay aware. You do your thing. You don't cause a lot of attention. You have fun, and that's it.
Just be
You leave.
smart. It's
You
just be
respect.
smart about it.
Yeah, be smart and respect where you're at too. Like you're there, like you
Yeah.
said earlier. You're there as a visitor, as a guest in that country.
Yeah.
Even like when I travel state by state, like I'm a visitor in that state. I'm visiting Cincinnati. I'm there as a guest.
No.
I don't know. It just be smart. Um, Talking about the pandemic though, we were going off the rails for a little bit. So
Like
how is
denial,
well,
denial, denial.
do you know like how the pandemic is going on in Honduras right now? Like, do you still have family back there?
Terrible.
Terrible. And is that were it wasn't a factor because of that, but I'm sure now it's more a factor. Like at the beginning or the middle of last year, the whole and I made a joke earlier, the whole migrant caravan. I'm sorry, guys, but it's just jokes. It's a light-hearted podcast. We make jokes,
But it's
but there
true.
was a real thing. There was a real thing. It was a real thing. There was a
It still
migrant
is.
caravan.
There, that hasn't stopped. It's like it
Right.
hasn't stopped. There was another one a couple of months ago. It's like
Oh yeah.
there
No.
have been I think like 3 or 4 waves at this point. And it's not going to stop.
Every time
Like I'm
somebody says
sorry.
waves, I play a lot of video games, so I'm thinking like all the waves, like when you're like, you know, the waves is
Just
coming.
progressively
Another one,
bigger.
yeah. Yeah, each time. Oh man. But yeah, so like really, I got to see it when I went home, since it's a border town. Traveling into Mexico, there was a lot of areas where like there was almost like campgrounds for people that either planning to make their way in or tried to come in and got sent back. It was a
Yeah.
really sad thing to see, but also I know there was a lot of things mixed into it. And I'm not a political person, at best. I just like it's sad to see that so many people have to leave their area for what is, and especially now with this COVID thing. Regardless of how you feel, regardless if it's, so you think that it's like really a deadly disease, or if it's like you get it, you'll get over it. There's so many mixtures of it,
Yeah.
but there's just so much to deal with, and to even think about dealing with it. Like I'm super lucky that I don't have to deal with all that. But just seeing like my sister works with that stuff, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm trying to get at with this. It's just sad. I went. It's a little
No,
sad.
it's no, it's unfortunately a real problem that's not going to go away. It's not going to go away easily. It's not going to stop either. And what people need to understand is that these people are not leaving because they want to. They're leaving because they have to. Like not everybody gets to have a comfortable living in Latin America, and they're forced out, whether it's by poverty or by violence, or just because they actually fear for their lives. I mean, like the corruption in my country, for example, is so rampant that like uh, at all levels of government there's corruption, but then you also have, for example, like maras, which are our versions of gangs that run certain parts of the country. Like there are certain parts of the country where people where the police won't go in,
Like, is that
and
like the
they,
same thing as cartels?
yeah, pretty much it's the same thing. And the unfortunate fact is that these are people who like sell protection insurance. So like they intimidate you into basically giving them a bite from your business, or they will burn it down. Which is like my parents used to have a place, for example, they used to have a restaurant where at least towards the end of it, like at least once every couple of months, somebody would come in and be like, "Yeah, well, you're gonna have to pay us money, or like shit could happen." And my dad never did because, well, mostly he is insane, but he stood his ground and it was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna pay shit." But it was when you would talk to like the restaurant owners all around, they would be like in the same position where they would be like, "Yeah, somebody came here and like tried to charge us a war tax and let us know that shit was going to go down." And it's the unfortunate reality of many countries in Latin America right now, and that's not going to change anytime soon. As much as we would love for it to change, it's not going to.
All right, so let's circle back to Vietnam and the pandemic there. You said normal. What is normal? Like no mask, everything's open, or is there still
Uh,
some regulations?
Everything is still open. There is, so you got to understand how this happened. So since last year, we had our first cases and we went into a lockdown for a month and a half. After the lockdown ended and everybody had been tracked, then everybody knew who came into the country would be sent immediately into quarantine. Um, Anybody that for X or Y reason, it could be diplomats, it could be just business people, it could be people who already had flights coming in, would be sent into quarantine. Travel froze after a couple of months, and they were like, "No, you know what? We can't keep bringing people in because we keep bringing people in who are sick." So all travel stopped, and it has like been on and off and on and off for the last year. So we've had maybe a couple of outbreaks throughout the year, which have been like, oh, like 10 people were infected. But those 10 people had maybe contact with around 250 people. So this entire city has been quarantined now. So it's been going on in that kind of
So
process.
when they quarantine, like when, how do they make sure? How do they make sure people are following the rules that are set, like stay home or whatever? Because I'll say this: here, just in Texas alone, they're like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do this, but it's not really going to be enforced. Like we're not going to spend our time. We got other crimes going on that we're not going to focus on that too much. Like unless you're being a straight up like idiot somewhere, like yeah, but like going and coughing on an Uber person. Yeah,
Jesus.
yes, exactly.
But
Sorry to bring it up, but people are out there doing that. So
yeah.
you know, And then you have your people here that are just like, no, I'm not gonna be closed down. I'm not gonna be, and rightly so in some parts. Like it's very sad that some people don't get to have that interaction that they need because we're humans. We need to have an interaction. Elderly people can't even talk like or even know how many people have lost their life because of the lack of interaction. But
Yeah.
again, too hard, too fast. Ran with this is what I think. I'm not trying to change your mind. Just a whole different perspective from what I'm saying.
I am. Wear the fucking masks.
Oh
Wear
no, the
your
mask.
fucking masks. Don't cough on fucking anybody. And if you're sick, stay the fuck home. And there you go. You do not need to censor this part, Jorge, because I will stand by this. I will happily punch somebody in the face if they are nearer than 2 meters away from me. In Vietnam, luckily, I can be next to, like, side by side with somebody. But even then, I feel slightly weird. I'm like, give me some space. Over there, where the virus is completely insane, nobody should be getting close to anybody. Like, like just common sense. Look, here's the thing, and I've been saying this for the last year. If the world just stopped for 2 weeks, this would be over. Everybody just go home, chill the hell out for just go watch Netflix if you can, and then just stop for 2 weeks. And then everybody who is infected would be number one, tested, number two, found, and treated. And then that would be it. We would reduce the amount of infections so drastically with the world stopping for 2 weeks. But then our 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 eagerness to make money or our drive to be like, oh no, we have to do something. It has fucked everything up, and it's
Well, I
insane.
think, and then also like everything else has to stop. Uh, the bills, the
Yeah, everything. Yeah,
everything has to stop. Like payments on things like they all have to stop, or else they won't. Because that's what gets people scared is the fact that you
yeah.
can stop, we can shut down, we'll go home, but this bill's still gonna come
The
and
bills
ask.
still pile up.
Yeah, they're still gonna be like, oh no no, we shut down, but you use this much light, or you watch this cable, or you know
Yeah,
what, you were watching Netflix for those 2 weeks. Like those are still coming. So all that needs to stop. Really, like the rent needs to stop, and that's the problem.
it's
That's why it doesn't.
it's like that's why capitalism breaks down, and then that's when you realize, oh, maybe this wasn't the best idea.
um, I'm
But yeah, no,
not.
here everything is really normal. To be fair, I mean, like I go out on a daily basis. I go out, I teach in front of my kids. I don't wear a mask when I'm in class. But if you're sick, you do. Um, for the most part, we still have like the little lines at supermarkets where social distancing is supposed to happen. We rarely use them anymore. Um, we still have perspex screens, for example, at some businesses. But the fact is, our life has returned 90% to normal. If anything, like most people here have gotten very complacent about it because it's like, oh well, COVID's not a thing, and it's a very weird disassociation between Vietnamese people and foreigner people because Vietnamese people are like, well, Vietnam did it, hooray! There's no more COVID here, which there still is, just in very small percentages. And for the rest of us, it's like, no, there might not be COVID here, but it's still a thing. We still need to be careful about it because I have people who have died back home. Meanwhile, for most Vietnamese people, it's still just a concept. Like COVID is like, oh yeah, people are in quarantine, but I don't personally know anybody who has been infected. Meanwhile, for us, it's like, oh yeah, I already know at least 10 people who have died.
Yeah.
Like, and it sucks. For us, it's a little bit more real, I would think, or at least for the people I have talked to, for them, it's still more of a concept, like it was a year ago when it was like, oh, well, someday there's a virus in China, there's a virus in the USA, it's not here. And so for us, it just feels a little bit more real, or at least that for me, it feels more real when I know people who have had it. I have to live with the idea of my family might get it at some point. Like I don't know how that's gonna go down, and my family has been very lucky that so far I don't think I have anybody in my close personal family who has had it, but I have had friends who have had it. It's an odd mental state to be in, honestly, sometimes.
Yeah, and I see. I think about it in the sense like, maybe if I get it, I'm fine. I'm more of a person that I do have bad luck, so I could get like a really bad thing from it, and and I always like the way I deal with things. I joke around a lot, so like I always tell jokes, and they're not always like happy jokes. They're like really dark jokes sometimes, but it's only to like people like I can they know that how like messed up my head can go. But I think about how like these students are like having to deal with life now, and for them it's very normal, almost like it almost seemed like it was very normal, like, yeah, I'm gonna wear this mask to play on the playground. My son, who's 3 years old, is like won't get off the truck till his mask is on.
Mm.
And it's just like it's weird, like you're like there's so much more that for you to see in this world beyond the mask. But
Yeah.
also, I love the mask. So even if, and hopefully this whole thing goes away, hopefully it does. I don't know what's going to happen. I would love to continue to wear the mask for selfish reasons. I don't have to. I don't have to fake smile at people anymore. I love that. I love walking through the store and not being on the same aisle as somebody going. I could just be like, keep walking. Um,
Like,
and I've
you
said
don't
this
know me.
before.
You're not sure if it's me or not.
Yeah, exactly. Or like I've said this 100 times already. I love burping into my mask. It's one of my favorite things. It makes me weird. I get it, but burping my lunch into the mask and re-smelling it, woo, baby, I love that.
My God. So you've
And
got
if it's
snacks to go.
yes, and if it's keeping people safe, then whatever. Let's do it. I'm okay with it.
I can
Uh,
tell you I can tell you that after living for 3 years here, the mask should stay, and it should be. It's a good thing that the rest of the world has adopted this. It's like, look, if you're sick, strap on a mask. It's a
yeah,
great thing
you
because
won't
the
pass
fact
up
is,
the stomach bug or the cold or the flu,
anything,
the
strap
normal
on a
flu.
mask on it, and then that's it. Like the amount of times, like last year, for example, before COVID, I used to get sick all the time because I work with kids. You work with kids. Kids are gross. Kids are terribly gross. They're nasty little monsters who will
I'll tell
come
you,
up to you and be like,
teachers are gross too.
"Oh, teachers are gross as hell too," but at least teachers don't go up to your face and go like, "Teacher Aaron," and you're like,
Oh no, 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 no!
"Yes."
You have no idea how many teachers have gone to whisper something to me and go, and I'm like, dude, I just felt everything go straight into my mouth. It's like it hit the back of my throat like a Dr. Pepper.
Cochino.
Yes. I was like,
Yeah,
dude,
and it's
back up.
it like kids can be gross, and so like since last year I started wearing a mask, like for the first couple of months when everybody was wearing them in class and everything, I didn't get sick, and I was like, oh, yeah, can you just edit some little harp sounds in here, because just it was amazing. It was like, I am no longer sick every single week that I go to work. It's fantastic. Kids could spit on me and cough in me. It was like, you work with kids. You know they like weird things in the classroom, man. Like, kids are
Oh,
weird.
in the
Just the other
classroom,
day,
outside the classroom,
yeah,
it's
like just
yes.
the other day, I found one that was like putting something in their mouth, and it was like, I was like, what do you have in your mouth? She was like, just took it out, and it was like this little rubber piece that was like the little protector for the chair. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with you? Just took it away from her and just like throw it away, and she's like, ah.
Yep,
It's like,
I've had a couple of
kids are
times where like
weird.
Kids are like, sir? Like, oh my
Oh,
god. Like, all right. Ooh, like
God,
before
no.
this whole pandemic, there's I have one of my assistants that works with me. She's like working with this kid, and they're it was before the pandemic, so there's no mask. It's face to face, like this close, and she's like trying to get his attention, like, hey, you need to, and she's saying something, so her mouth is open, and the kid goes, and you literally see the spit go from his mouth into her mouth, and everybody just goes, oh,
Wow.
like it was like, oh
I,
no, and she's just
I've,
like,
I've,
oh no, oh no. I'm like, you'll be fine, not a big deal.
I've had that happen to me. It's the worst feeling in the world having somebody cough inside your mouth. It's, eh, it's just no.
I've had gotten it on my glasses. I'm like, okay, I have to take them off and clean them up. But
It's
you
like
know what?
everybody keep the masks. That's all we're saying, okay? From two teachers to the world, wear your
Keep,
mask. Just
even if
even
the
if
pandemic is over, just wear
oh,
them. Because you know
be-
what? At the end of the day, I don't want to smell your breath either. And if I can hide
that's
my
fair.
coffee breath from you, even better, right?
Here's a tip for everybody. So like I discovered this a couple of months ago and I've been doing it ever since. I just put like one drop of essential oil on my mask and it's fantastic. All day long I can just smell like jasmine or roses or whatever and like I'll wash it and it'll last for like a couple of washes and it's great. But like I same thing. Like
So
look,
does it
sometimes
get you a little buzz too going
it's like oh I
during
wish.
the
It's like I'll try
during
a
the
little bit
heat?
of tequila there.
It's essential oils, tequila.
Essential oils. No, but it works out, man. Because like, look, I have reflux, so like usually when I start to get hungry, my breath like smells,
Mm.
and so same thing. Unlike you, I do not like my burp smells. I'm just like, all right, cool. So like, it'll get to a point if I'm like near lunch, or I'm like, oh man, my breath smells really bad. But then mask, essential oils is like perfect. It's like it doesn't matter because everything smells like jasmine. Everything smells like blueberry daffodil.
Everything's perfect. Well, speaking of everything perfect, it sounds like Vietnam almost has everything perfect to an extent. Keep
To
the
an
mask.
extent.
I'm sure there's so much more that we can talk about Vietnam, about Honduras, about the U.S. But we'll keep it at that. Aaron, Flame Fingers, thanks for coming on the podcast. Too hard, too
Before I
fast.
forget, actually, hold on. Before I forget, let me do one extra review for you because I did say
Okay,
I was going to show you some Asian alcohol.
perfect. And
Since
also, I'm gonna
since
ask you
since
for
I
that. I'm gonna ask you for your
oh,
Too Hard, Too Fast story in a little bit. So yes, let's do an extra review that people don't
good,
always get.
I'll give you two extra reviews because that's the kind of person I am, extra as fuck. So just because it's 9 in the morning and I'm drinking my Revive, as we've already talked about, I
It's
will
not
have a
nine
show.
anymore. It's almost
What is it?
11 in the
It's
morning.
11. That's still not drinking time.
No, it's
It's like not
11 over
without
here
not
at night.
not without breakfast.
Brunch
So
at
I'll
this
show you.
point.
Yeah, I'll show you two of my favorite liquors in Asia so far, or at least in Vietnam. So number one, let me wipe this off because I don't think you're gonna be able to see it. There you go. So number one is Strongbow cider, which I know for a fact you can find elsewhere in the world because Strongbow is actually not Asian. It is I think it's a Netherlands brand, but it's exported by Heineken. So Strongbow cider is fantastic. It is sweet and it has enough alcohol that it will give you a buzz because it just has a ton of sugar. So it's like 4.5 this one. Yeah, 4.5. Fantastic alcohol. So for all of you who don't like beer but enjoy something like cider or just like fruity drinks, go ahead, go find Strongbow. It's a
Does
fantastic.
it really taste like that apple?
This one's gold apple. It tastes appley. They have gold apple, honey, dark fruits, and red berries. I think they're all fantastic except for dark fruits. I don't like it. It's a little bit too bitter for me. And so that's the first one. I will give that easily a 1.8. Let's say 1.7 just because it's a little bit expensive, but not that much.
Ugh.
And then
In
the
American
second one,
dollars, how much would it be?
uh, In American dollars, you're just gonna laugh because you're gonna be like, "That's so cheap." It's like $2.
$2. But over there, it's like, because it's
Over
imported.
here, yeah, over here it's like 40, 45K. Actually, this one I'm not entirely sure, but I believe this one is actually produced in Vietnam. Like,
Oh, wow.
it's just the brand is from Netherlands.
Oh.
And so alcohol number two is Korean soju. This one is apple. It says better than ever. This is not
What
my
does
usual brand.
what does soju mean? What does that mean?
Soju is like a Korean rice alcohol, I believe. And it is strong. It has a kick, but it is flavorful. So it's like, think about drinking vodka plus flavoring, and
Oh, wow.
it's strong. It's strong. It's like you usually just have like little shots of it and just like sip it. It's like a sipping alcohol, but it's fantastic. And I wish I knew how much alcohol it actually has. Oh, 12%.
Oh,
There
that
you go,
wow, 12% in that little bottle or
12%.
regular size
That
bottle.
it. One of these will get you like drunk.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it
a
goes
lot of
down.
alcohol in one little container.
It
That's
goes
like a
down
wine
really
bottle
smoothly and
almost.
harsh. Yeah, it's like it goes down really smoothly. It's really flavorful. Same thing. They have like a bunch of flavors: yeah, apple, citrus, strawberry, any other number of things, and it's fantastic. And I believe you can make like little soju bombs, from what I've heard, with it. So there you go. Go find some soju at your local Little Korea, or your
Dang, I
import goods
wish.
store.
I wish, man. I wish I could find some.
You can
Um,
find it. I know for a fact that you can find it in the US. Like, there's any number of brands for it. You can find it in the US. I highly recommend it.
there might be a store that they sell a lot of Asian products. It really is all Asian products, but I just never stepped into it. And my friend keeps telling me like they sell the best food too. It's just like it's like behind the main supermarket here. So like it's always like, oh well, we just need stuff, so let's just go to the main one. But one day I want to walk in there. I'm gonna make this promise. One day I'm gonna walk in there and just check things out and see if I find that I'm gonna get it.
Get it. I guarantee you
What
you're
would you
gonna
give it?
like it.
Well,
That one's a solid two. It's like if you want to have fun while drinking, if you want to drink something delicious, but that will also actually get you buzzed or drunk, drink soju.
dang.
Also, no hangover.
Ooh, even better. Then that definitely is a two. And then what a
Yeah,
two means for two hard too fast is that no matter where it is, you're gonna drive to go get it, and then you're gonna just figure out a way to stay there because you're gonna drink it in that spot. You know, if you gotta get a hotel, an Airbnb, whatever, or an Uber back, you're gonna go too hard too fast on it, and that's what that means for us. So that could be the first two. No, it's not the first two for too hard too fast as a guest, but you're also not a guest; you're a co-host. So, ooh, it's right in the line. All right, I want to try it.
it's in the moral gray area, which
Yeah,
is
yeah,
what
yeah.
we Latinos like.
Estás bien. Ron, it's time for that one question we ask everybody at the end of the podcast. Do you have a too hard, too fast story that you
Oh,
can share with
Jesus.
us or are comfortable sharing with us where you went too hard, too fast? Something funny,
Oh.
a cautionary tale. If you want to
Never
say one
drink,
about somebody else.
like never drink in the ocean, because
Oh,
I do have an R-rated story that I will tame down a little bit for this podcast. Uh, so when I was, oh Lord, I don't even know how long ago this was. I want to say maybe 24, 25. Uh, I was meeting up with a bunch of people from like international people, basically, and we all gathered together. We rented a house on the beach, and we went there. We started partying and everything, and we were like drinking and drinking and drinking. I had a Mexican dude, and so at this point, it was when I was very young. I had a lot more resistance for drink. Tequila just doesn't do it for me. It's like I love it and I love to drink it, but it just goes right through me. And so I was like, I had a Mexican dude with me, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let's go drink some tequila." I was like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." And it's like, one bottle for you, one bottle for me. Let's do it. Let's see who can last longer. I was like, this is gonna be my claim to fame. And so we both just go shot for shot, shot for shot, shot for shot. And the guy passes out, and I'm like, all right, I'm still up. Hooray! Tipsy as hell, just walking around like kind of lost. Our house is literally a beach house with the ocean maybe 50, 100 meters away. And so somebody yells out like, hey, let's go skinny dipping on the ocean. And I'm like, immediately, I'm one of the like older people in the group at that point. And immediately I went sober because I'm like, these are 15 to 20 people who want to go drunk into the ocean to skinny dip. And so I immediately sobered up and I'm like, no, whoa. Too many people against me. I'm like, all right, cool, fine, let's go. And so I kind of cherry picked the least drunk people. And like, you're going to be lifeguards. Like, we're going to go into the ocean. You're just going to stand and we're going to be the barrier. If anybody goes past you, your job is to drunkenly just hurl them back into the shore. So that is my too hard, too fast story. It's like, don't go into the ocean at night, number one, and don't go into the ocean drunk. It's a terrible idea. So I'm very happy none of us died. But I was like, that was my moment where I was like, oh no, I'm responsible for all these kids. I was like, oh no. Because in that moment, they were all like 19, 20, 21. And I was like, at that moment, I just saw them as children. It was like, no, these children are under my protection. Like if somebody dies, it's on me. It's like, I'm the local person here. So don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do
There's
it.
no
And
need.
I have a couple of stories like that that don't involve me, so I won't tell them. One of them does involve Worm, so maybe I can convince him when he's on the show to tell his too hard to fast story at the beach, and it's real funny, and it kind of consists of what you're talking about. But it's
Oh,
not my
Jesus.
story to tell, so if he wants to tell it, he'll tell it in a future episode. Dude, that's a funny story. So, but did you skinny dip? Were you a barrier? Were you but were you naked?
We were all naked. So yes, we were all skinny dipping in the ocean while drunk.
They had a little extra buoys hanging out. Sorry. But with that said, hey, once again, Aaron, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for going too hard, too fast with me. And thanks for being a co-host, dude. I love this. This was awesome.
Dude, like
I know we
this is
got real
fantastic.
serious towards the end, though. A lot of serious talk, but hey, every now and then.
Fun. Emo. Fun.
I know. It's like it was a roller coaster ride, and we had to do it, man. I was like, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with somebody outside of the U.S. and outside of Mexico that to tell me like what's going on in their world with this whole pandemic stuff going. So it's nice to see a different perspective, and I appreciate it.
No, I'm glad to be here, and like thank you for inviting me. And like I'll come back on, man. Like whenever you need a guest co-host, I'm happy to do it because then that'll help me get ready for my own podcast in the future, which we'll see how it goes.
Perfect. I'll let you know next time. I'll probably add in like an actual guest where we both have to interview and see how we do with that. That would be fun.
That would be fun.
With that said, let's do Worm's job where he usually says one last thing to end the podcast. Aaron, what do you got to say?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want people coughing in your open mouth, wear a mask.
If you want somebody coughing into your mouth and you're into some weird stuff, and that's okay, we're not here to judge, but just know
It just
the
costs
video-
extra.
Yeah, and you have to contact trace. But with that said, remember, dare to be you, dare to be weird. Bye.